Everyone. If we haven't met yet, my name is Trisha Howe, and I work in educational services with Long and McQuaid. I'm joining you from Alberta in Treaty 7 territory, and I'm welcoming my dear friend Dr. Shelley Axelson, who's joining us from Texas and at her home in Texas. So she's going to spend some quality time with us talking about concert band repertoire this year. That is sort of a new hybrid offering that as it came out from the publishers. So I'm going to turn it directly over to her. If you're looking for slightly more or slightly less advanced music, we have an earlier session for younger or newer ensembles. So over to you, Dr. Axelson.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. So we're going to do one of my favorite things with one of my favorite people. Trish and I are going to talk about nerd out on repertoire. We've listened to a lot of new pieces that are coming out this year, and we're going to talk you through some of them and just sort of hit some highlights. And we'll listen to probably not all, but a little bit at least of every piece that we talk about. So if you want more information, you can go find and listen to the whole thing as you plan on programming and hopefully getting back to live music making in the fall. So one of the things that I'll talk about, I'll make reference to, not probably all the time, but just so you're aware, if I use the term opener or closer or big, I'm talking about program placement, like opener, slow, big, closer, which is a nice formula. Or we talk about a piece that's what I call other. Those are pieces that we're always looking for that don't sound necessarily like a lot of band music, right? They are newer concepts, more atmospheric music. So I'll be using that terminology just so you're aware, and if that makes sense, hopefully. And we're going to kick right off with a new composer to me. But we did hear some of his stuff on the younger band recording that we did. This young man is named Gerard Hall. He's written some really smart stuff. So this piece we're going to look at today is called Tripwire. And it has, it's about spies. Like it has a backstory that they're, infiltrating someplace and avoiding the tripwire. So it has a very sneaky beginning. So you'll hear that. He sets that up nicely. And then it, to me, is kind of like a big band chart, like a jazz band chart for the entire band, which is great, right? Because the bass clarinets and oboes don't often get to play jazz. So this is a really nice thing. I will just, so though, because it is jazz oriented, lots of syncopation, lots of ties. So if that's something you're looking to teach, this might be a really great piece for that. So let's hear a little bit of Tripwire. That's probably good, Trish. So you see, very clever, right? I love those when a composer puts in that blank space, right? That 6 beats of silence that catches my mom talking in the audience too loud, right? With the music, and all of a sudden it goes quiet. My mom's like, "I'm so proud." It gets caught talking. Nice percussion break, lots of percussion to do. A lot of interesting things for the lower instruments to do, right? We always want to keep in mind that those folks have been playing B flat concert whole notes for about 2 years. So when we get to this point where we're playing grade 2 music, I think we want to try to look for opportunities to feature them so they can learn to be more agile, which is really, really important. Lots of accidentals there, right? So grade 2, we're going to start seeing a lot more accidentals, I think. So I think that's a really fun piece. You see how it's jazz flavored, right? It's kind of hip. All right, next we're going to go to a piece by Bill Thomas, But Not Alone. This is a Canadian composer. Am I right about that, Trish? Yeah, great. And it's a calm, slow piece. It's about being by yourself, but not being alone, not feeling alone, and being comfortable about that. Because it's a slow, so about family and friends and things like that. Because it's a slower piece, the percussion is limited. And you'll hear that there's a flute solo, maybe an opportunity to feature if you have a good young flute player. So I think one of the hardest things to do is to write a good melody. And I think this one has a really nice melody. So let's have a listen. That's probably good for that. That's a nice take of that. So, and I say again, and I am not a composer, obviously. It must be so difficult to write a beautiful melody with the limitations that we have on these composers, right? Our students only know a certain number of notes and dynamic range. So this piece really struck me as just a really pretty melody, which I think is always what we want to look for. And I know this isn't only this year, but it makes me think of there's a piece called Amerland or Amerland. I don't know. In Texas, we say Amerland, but that is the Han, right? Yep. Another grade 2 piece, beautiful melody, except the euphonium part's hard on that one. Just FYI, make sure you have euphoniums and horns. But otherwise, I get so excited when I find a piece that's beautiful for younger students. And I love the fact that composer's Canadian, right? So, okay, let's move on to Pine Ridge rag. So that's a mouthful. It's a traditional rag, and it's in the style of Scott Joplin. This is Neil Hunter wrote this, another Canadian composer. Because it's a rag, you're gonna have a ton of syncopation and a really important xylophone part, and those are both true. So keep that in mind. Again, if you have a great xylophone player, this would be a nice feature. One thing, it also has a DS, which might be a first time they've had to deal with that roadmap. Um, I made a note to myself that this might be a little harder than a grade two. I feel like this is on the upper end of the grade two, maybe just because of all the syncopation and all that. But mostly, there's one section, I can't remember exactly where it is, but you'll hear it. There are huge leaps in low brass, like huge leaps, and that's going to be hard. Again, we made them play whole notes for a long time, so we need to transition them in instead of just going right to big leaps. So you'll see it when it happens, but this is a great little piece. So let's hear it. Yeah, there you go. That's good because it got us through. We got to hear that. So you see that do ga dee dee do dot do. That's going to be the first time they see that, they're going to be like, "What is happening?" So that's going to, but what a great opportunity, and they are primarily octaves, right? So and for the low guys, they don't have to change positions, or they're just, but that also kind of makes it harder. So, but a really good opportunity for those kids to start getting an opportunity to be part of the action, the melodic action, which is great. Okay, do we say this? Is it Michael Oher?
I've always said Oare, but that doesn't mean I'm right. It might be Michael Orr. I don't know
And the
him, so
only
I
reason
don't.
I say that is remember that movie, The Blind Side? There was a football player for the Baltimore Ravens. His name was Michael Orr, and it's spelled just like that.
Yeah. Then that may very well be it. I'd never encountered the last name before. So, Michael, if we're saying it wrong, I am open to correction. I will see you in Chicago. We'll sort it out.
Yes, and Trish and I are going to buy you a drink in Chicago because I love your young band. He writes a lot of stuff at the basic beginner level. So good. It's always so clever. So anyway, so this piece is called Between Earth and Sky, and it's about dragons. So kids are going to like that. If anybody watched the Game of Thrones, here you go. Here's your dragon piece this year. This one requires a synthesizer, so that's something to keep in mind. You have a pianist in your group that could do it, I'm quite sure. There is bowed gong and lowering and rising of chains. So interesting percussion, which is and lots of it, which is great. There is a flute solo. And one thing that I liked about this, the big form, if I remember, was like slow fast. But in the fast part, there are moments of repose. Because I think that's one thing about band music is it can be like 3 minutes of just in your face, right? So a moment of repose is always welcome, right? So I think you're going to really like this one. So let's have a listen to this, Between Earth and Sky. So you see, when we get in that fast section, then we have that little woodwind moment that I think is so nice and just a richer story. A lot of accidentals, yeah, in that one. So be ready. Be ready. Make sure your group's ready for that. And just as a former middle school band director myself, that's in one. The fast section is in one, and also in F. So yeah, get ready to say it's not E flat anymore, flutes. Just, but we had him play an E flat for 2 years. So, like, you know what I mean? Just be ready. That's two kind of big things, which might just be what the doctor ordered. So, there you go. Plus, everybody's going to love the dragon theme. All right, let's talk about For Those Who Have Served by David Marlatt. This one, it's patriotic, right? It's a remembrance of people who've served in the military and frontline workers during the pandemic. So it's a homage to all of those folks who have served. It has a really beautiful flugelhorn solo in it. But don't be deterred if you don't have a kid that you think can play flugelhorn. First of all, that might be a good opportunity to have a guest come in. But even if not, you could rewrite that for anybody in the ensemble. And I'm pretty sure it's cross-cued in a couple places already. If you're a fan, as I am, of the HBO series from years ago called Band of Brothers, the music reminds me of that a little bit, which I really, really love. So I think you'll really like this one too. Good for Remembrance Day. So here we go. Yeah, isn't that nice? There's something about the be da da. That's the part that reminds me of Band of Brothers so much. So that's would be lovely for a Remembrance Day celebration. All right, let's move on to a Paso Doble. The next one is Luna y Fuego. Sorry, not bad, I guess. That's moon and fire, yes? Okay, I know Luna is moon because that's my doggy's name. So it is a paso doble. Uh, so it's going to be like March. This would be a great opener or a closer, which would be amazing. Just a really straightforward paso doble. Let's listen. Okay. And that's probably it's pretty straight ahead. For me, just a quick mention about programming. That for me is a closer more than an opener. Now, would it be an attention getting, hey ho, here the concert's starting opener? Sure. But for me, I like for the last piece to be what I call traveling music. Something that they are going to can be humming on the way out. It leaves them very up and very with music in their mind and in their right their oral space after the concert is over. And a piece like that is perfect, so singable, so pleasant. So that's why I would call that a closer. And if you don't think about that, you do that. We don't ever want to end with a slow piece, right? Everybody goes home kind of down, right? And we don't want any end with anything that's too new or other or wacky. Give the people what they want and send them on their way. Yeah, a little traveling music. All right, perfect. Let's go on now to Joyful Tidings. We're still in grade two. This one is a holiday piece. It's a fantasia on God Rest You Merry Gentlemen. The percussion is really standard on this one, and there is a key change from E flat to F, but it's really quite lovely. Let's listen to some of it. Yeah, so that key change, it sounds like, here you go, like you're going up a step, and that's exactly what it feels like. It sounds like, yeah, that's sweet, right? And one thing, just a note, when we do these holiday concerts, people like the music to sound like, if they know it, they like it to sound like they know it, unless it's like a novelty piece where, like we did in the younger band session, where it was like they made it scary Christmas, or then that's fine. But this is cute because it's active and it's interesting, but the melody is always present, right? And if we're doing a holiday concert, we really want to be thinking about our audience quite a bit when we're choosing the music for that. Okay, let's go to Forevermore. Christina Huss, who is a new composer to me. Um, Again, we get a really nice melody, which we're always looking for, especially at this grade level. This woman is, I think, just retired. She was a teacher in Georgia, and wrote this piece. It starts with a solo, alto sax solo, and she talked about how that represents like a student. She wrote it for her graduating seniors. And as she was working on then COVID, right? So you'll hear some individual sort of stuff, thinner texture stuff, and then everybody gets to be together again. So it hits on a lot of levels for what we've all been through and that kind of stuff as well. So and we're going to take this to the key change because that's when they reunite. Okay.
I wish there were a graceful way to fade out of those because that was so not graceful at
I know, I
all.
just went, oh, I thought something happened on my computer. It's always my instinct is I push the wrong button because I do that sometimes. Yeah, so lovely, right? And maybe considering doing that for your seniors. I mean, and this is a perfect example of why you should always have a piece that's too easy, right? This is a perfect piece that I would choose for my college band to play. I don't care that it's a grade two, right? Let's not go down that road. It doesn't matter. It's a beautiful melody. It has a lovely message, and high school seniors could play this. My college seniors could play this. The message is the same, and it's a beautiful melody, which is always hard to find. One thing I just want to point out, because that piece has all those like sort of smaller groups with a soloist that's featured, and I just want to point out that you all know this from your Zoom life, but Zoom, when we share our screens, tries to make all the sounds equal. So that's why the balance is sometimes you hear as we're listening and watching, and the balance seems like, well, I would have done better balance there. Yeah, you would have. And they probably did too. Zoom is trying to correct it because it's a machine and not a musician. So just know that that's happening a little bit too. That piece is also a thing, what I call attack points. You know, when you have like composite rhythms, like do, but it's passed around the ensemble. You heard do da dee do, dee do dee do, but it's all over the place. That will probably be the first time that they experience that, and what a great piece to do it in, right? Because that's a different kind of listening. When you get to that kind of musical elements, their listening has to mature. So that's something to keep in mind for that for this piece too. I just really like it. Okay, I know how I erased that cell earlier because I just did it again, but I've caught it this time. All right, let's move on to "We Will Remember Them." This is by Doug Wagner. Okay, this is, you can decide what you want to do with your programming as regards to COVID, right? Do you want to just not think about it anymore and just right move on and never acknowledge it? But or do you want to have a piece of remembrance, right? The last one we heard would be lovely for that. This one as well. This was written to honor first responders who died of COVID because they were treating patients with COVID, which is quite heavy and quite beautiful and quite evocative. But you have a sort of philosophical decision to make about your programming, which way to go on that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So, but let's listen to this one because it's lovely, it's sweet. Okay, that's probably good. Yeah, see, it's just beautiful. I have so much respect for people who can write melody. And if you can't write a good melody, then you're probably not a great composer. And that is a great melody, I think. So something for you to consider. All right, let's go on to The Gathering. This piece is a waltz. And in the front matter of the score, some of the adjectives or nouns and adjectives it uses that is trying to capture a sense of magic and whimsy. Isn't that nice? I love those words. Whimsy. I should use that word more. I love it. So that's really something really different. It also, though, has some dissonant interjections that you're going to hear, which might be a great opportunity to talk about that. So let's have a listen to some Gathering. That's right. Okay, I remember now. Because apparently, and I didn't know this till I was yesterday years old, that the waltz was like scandalous because people were dancing close and touching each other. So of course, our friends like Sanson, right? He wrote a bunch, and yeah. So anyway, so it sounds kind of Halloweeny, right? It's like Abracadabra to Kelly's Abracadabra meets Harry Potter, and this would be a
Yes.
piece on the program. This would be other, right? If you went opener, slow, then something kind of different, other, and then you're closer. So this would be perfect for that. All right, thanks, Trish, for making sure we
Sure.
could see that. All right, we're going to go up a half a grade. We're going to 2.5. Okay, so you're going to see things get a little bit more complicated, but not too much, just half a step, right? Earth Dawn. This is our friend Randall Standridge. Now, did he write Earth Dance?
No, there were two Earth dances one year. One was to Kelly, one I think was Sweeney. And this came out, Randall put this out last year for Adaptable Band and then created a full concert band of it this year.
Got it. I had Earth Dance in my brain while I listened to this. So if you liked Earth Dance as much as I did, which I really liked, I've done it with so many honor bands that and then that section that ends like that sounds like the last song, end of Act One of every Broadway musical ever. To New York. It's a great piece, Earth Dance. This reminded me, it's in that flavor. So we have all kinds of cool percussion. And sound effects, huge horn moments. That's the difference between 2 and 2.5. Now your horns are going to have to be able to project a little bit. Tons of percussion in this piece, atmospheric, sound effects. I said the thing I like most about this one is that everybody's part is good, because I'm always watching for those lower instruments, right? Everybody's part seemed like it would be fun to play. So let's listen to a little of this. You want to jump ahead just a little bit and get us into the next? So there you go. Yeah. So for me, even though it's a different composer, it very much reminds me of the spirit of Earth Dance, right?
For sure. Just before we leave this, I want to draw everybody's attention to this picture of Randall right here. On his social media, he made it wasn't a meme, it was actually what should be a brilliant poster about instruments not having genders, with this as the photo in it. And if you don't follow Randall on social media, I know I shared it, but I would suggest seeking that out. And I'm going to ask him if we can make a poster out of it because it was brilliant.
Oh, for sure. He seems really cool. I don't follow him on social media, but in his descriptions about his pieces on the publisher's website, he's always very specific and takes time, and you could hear him talking. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's really nice.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll follow him because that sounds fun. Okay, let's go to, I gotta slide over. Hang on, I've got the wrong. Fanfare 1127. I did not find out why it's called 1127. Like, have they written that many? Or I did not get the significance of that. But it's very celebratory, total opener. Total opener. It reminds me a lot of Richard Saucedo's kind of openers, like marching band kind of effect. Very active woodwinds and lots of percussion, right? So perfect for an opener. There's an alto sax solo, and at one point in the piece, just you'll want to know that the harmon mutes are going to be required for your trumpets, in case we don't get to that spot. So that's something you'll want to be aware of before you choose the piece. But this is an opener. Let's listen. Sorry, people are probably like, oh, I want to hear the end. It's just going to build up again. It's just going to build up again. And we don't want to, you can listen to it on your own. But you see, Trish, you agree, you hear some Saucedo in that, right? It's one of those kind of great grab a hold of the attention of the audience kind of thing, which is really, really great. Let's talk about this next piece, Heart of Gold, by our good friend Brian Balmages. This one, he's got 7/8, but don't let that scare you, because it's still grade. Are we grade 2 or 2.5 here? 2.5. Okay, so he's allowed to do 7/8. But because it's Brian, and he knows how to introduce these concepts and make them palatable and in small bites. All the 7s are 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, so it's never a different combo. So you get into a groove. Now, of course, he adds in 4/4 bars that just make things complicated. But this would be a great teaching piece for their first 7/8 piece. It also has a 3/4 section, tons of percussion because he knows, and body percussion. Right, so they're like clapping, they're tapping their legs. I think they're snapping. So here we go. Let's listen to this one. Heart of Gold. And then we get into the 3/4. So then we're into the 3/4 section. But you see, he basically composed in the clapping exercises to teach 7/8. He gives you that like the da 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 da. Then he is da da dee da da da. It's sewn into the piece, and you hear a lot of times it's all unison notes. So they're not worrying about notes; they're learning a new rhythm. That's smart composing. This would be a perfect first 7/8 piece.
All right, so I'm going to introduce this piece because it's kind of my fault that Shelley didn't get to preview it, and you're going to get her off-the-cuff thoughts on it. So, as we all know, Bob Buckley is one of our favorite Canadian people because he's a lot of fun and writes some really amazing cinematic, programmatic things. And he's done a piece this year called Shakespeare Meets Godzilla, The Good, the Bard, and the Ugly, which I think is a constant delight. And in the program notes, it says that this inventive and entertaining piece is a mashup of two entirely different music styles, Renaissance music and classic horror music. So we're going to listen to this, and Shelley's going to share some off-the-cuff thoughts about it because I did not get this link to her in time. So thanks for being such a great sport, Shelley. All right, here we go. I'm going to share it.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to do my unmute with my left hand because my dog's laying on my right hand. Okay, I'm here for it. I kept waiting for the Renaissance part to combined with the Godzilla part because I love the Renaissance stuff and I think it teaches our students so much about lift and up and articulation. And I love the programmatic Godzilla part. I'm not sure. It's almost like two different pieces. I'd have to listen to it a couple times. I love all the elements, and I think the kids will love to play it, and they're going to learn Renaissance stuff in it. So I'm here for it. Plus, I'm a fan. That you said that's Buckley.
Yep.
Yeah, great person. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you could sort of, if you know that your kids are never going to get it, like the Whitaker Godzilla Eats Las Vegas, you could use this as sort of one of those introductions to moving into other styles. There are some neat things about it that I really like. So anyway, I'm glad that I got that link into you. I'm sorry I didn't give you a chance to actually study up on it because your notes have been awesome. I've been loving the work you've done.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really cool. And you know what you said about too is once the students experience that piece, and as the teacher, we talk about Godzilla Eats Las Vegas, they're going to go listen to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I'm here for it. Yay!
Awesome.
For the win.
So where do we go next?
Where were we? We had done Heart of Gold. So Starlight, Star Bright, I think.
Perfect. Yes. I just learned about Leslie Gilreath last year, and I adore everything I've heard.
Yeah, and this is a 6-part flex, and it's based on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's about beginnings is the point, because Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is a song that we learn when we're little, and it's for a younger band. It's slow, and there's not a lot of percussion. I'm trying to remember. And isn't Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? That's the same as A B C D F G. They're the same. That's interesting. I just thought of it. So you're gonna, if I remember, you get the tune, Twinkle Twinkle. You get an augmentation. So he manipulates it. It's not just Twinkle Twinkle. It's much more clever than that. Let's listen to it because my introduction made it sound kind of like, it's kind of cool. good. That's good. Yeah. So, and what I like about that too is you really have to wait for it. Like it's not from the very beginning, like in your face, twinkle, twinkle. Like you have to earn that. Now, when I was listening to it on my own, I was looking at the score. So I don't remember. It sounds, this recording makes it sound like there's piano. I don't remember there being piano. I think I would have made a note of that.
I suspect that with it being one of the flex, so it's really neat. 6-part flex is so close to being banned sometimes that you
Yeah.
can do it either way. And I think that the score is probably more different than the parts are.
Ah,
So I'm not sure which part, like it's entirely possible that the piano part lives in there just in case you're doing it in a flex situation, you're missing bits
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
that extra voicing. And one thing that sometimes happens with like, I mean, this was a MIDI realization, right? So sometimes I wonder if those voicings sound more piano-y than we intended.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, could
I'm not
be.
sure which the answer to that is, but that's kind of what I was thinking. But I don't know. I like that moving part, sort of morning alleluias feel it's got.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very, very lovely. Very, very nice. And it's flex. So those of you who are coming back and worried that, you know, your groups are going to be smaller, quite frankly, I think they're all going to be bigger. I kind of do because everybody's going to want to do stuff and make music again, and the parents are going to make their kids join everything. If my daughter had not just graduated from high school, I would put her in a sport or a club or a group. So every day of the week after school, she had somewhere else to be.
And you know, she'd probably appreciate it after being in all year, right?
She don't want to talk to me anymore. We've already talked about everything.
Everything.
So I really actually think this year is going to be great. I think people are going to come back big and they're going to come back hungry. So, all right. That was Starlight. So next we go to Raven. Let's see I remember.
I'm gonna unmute really briefly on this one, just to
Yeah.
give everyone listening a little bit of background on this. So this is to me one of the most amazing stories of how we can all work together and how we can do things respectfully for cultures that are not ours to open conversations and discussions. So the raven is part of a several species, I guess, series of works that is a collaboration between a Squamish First Nations musician called Bob Baker and, of course, our lovely and talented Robert Buckley. And it sort of came together. One of the big community bands in Vancouver, the West Vancouver Youth Band, rehearses right next to the Squamish Nation. So Doug McCauley, who is their conductor, had been speaking with some of the elders on the reservation and saying like, hey, what can we do together? And Squamish has Eagle Song dancers who are some of their young people who do the traditional dances from the nation. So this all kind of became this beautiful, collaborative, amazing thing. And this is the third part of it. So this is Bob Baker worked with Bob Buckley to make this happen. So I'm thrilled to be able to say that I know that this was a thoughtful and respectful treatment and idea and yeah, because I mean we all want to be able to share cultures and talk about things, but we don't want to be wrong about it. So this is a beautiful thing to be able to share, even if you have a different nation next door to you. You know, like I live on Treaty 7, but I grew up on Treaty 1. So we all have different people next to us, but ultimately they're people, and these are discussions we need to have together. Anyway, over to the tune itself, and I think it's quite awesome.
It's
I
super
should
awesome.
share that if I'm going to do that, right? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and it's compound triple, just as a note. This will be 6, 8, and 9. everything about that piece, and how at the end, and if he's combining things, right? Then the ending, I'm like, I want the ending to be different. I want the last note to not be that chord. It's just like, so after all this interesting, papi, papi, I don't know. That's my only comment. I don't care for the last note. Other than that, that's I love that piece. Everything about that is good and right and true. All right, let's move forward to many a glorious morning have I seen. Oh, this is the one. Is based on a Shakespeare sonnet, 33, I think. Yeah, um, interesting harmonies. I think of all the pieces I've been listening to the last however long, this I don't know how I feel about this one, but I find it incredibly interesting. So this is not. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's not my favorite. I don't know if it's the best one, but to me, it's the most interesting. So you see what you think. That's probably good there. So you see what I mean about it? It's so interesting. I think if you choose that piece, it will either go very well or very badly. Right? The kids will either dig into it or they won't. I think you're gonna have to approach that piece though with them about talking about these harmonies and talking about it, teaching them what's happening. Their this will be new to the young band student's sonic imagination, which kind of makes me want to love it and do it. So I don't know. I think it's fascinating. So I'm glad that made the list. All right, let's talk about. I'm sorry, we should have mentioned that when we were starting with the Raven. I'm sure people watching this know that, but we obviously moved up half a step, right? That Raven obviously is a 3. So was the last piece, which because they have to be ready for that sort of otherness. So we're still in grade 3, and let's go back to Michael. We think Oher, a piece called Juxtaposition. This is really kind of cool. He takes all forms of F. So F major, F mixolydian, F minor. And he's playing around with those the whole time. We got fast, slow, fast for our form, very rhythmic. And the 8th note, though, pulse is fairly consistent throughout the whole piece, which I think makes it very right forward. And I wrote big chords, which I always like big, fat chords. So let's listen to a little bit of this. And maybe since it's fast, slow, fast, maybe let's listen to a second, little chunk at the beginning, and then we'll go in like that.
That sounds perfect. You just tell me when you want me to jump and I will jump.
Okay, I love that. Power. Jump ahead just a bit and see. That's probably good. It's interesting that the move from 2.5 or 2.5 to 3 is technical to be sure, but quite intellectual, right? There's such a huge, which makes sense because that's going to be middle school and high school, right? So that's this. I've forgotten about that. How that big step is there. Uh, so excellent. Okay, now this next one we don't have to listen to very much of, but it's called The Great Jingle Bell Chase. I just thought it was really cute because like Santa's behind schedule, and it's a combination of Jingle Bells and the Hallelujah Chorus. So like that's clever. Plus, audiences are going to love it. So we won't listen to very much. Trish, just give us a little taste. Let's make sure we get to a point where we hear the Hallelujah Chorus too, and then we'll cut.
You couldn't hear me, but I started laughing because not only did I get lost, but the second I heard the Hallelujah Chorus come in, I knew that's what was going on.
And in that moment, you have Jingle Bells in real time. You have Jingle Bells in augmentation and fragments of the Hallelujah Chorus. That's pretty cool.
Right. And again, I mean, if you are at all familiar with me and my terrible sight reading skills, you'll know why I got lost, and that made no sense at all.
That's okay. I'm sure everybody was like, I'll just listen. It's totally fine. Those scores on that website in particular sometimes get a little blobby anyway, so we can just use our ears. All right, let's just do a couple more, okay? Hang in there, everybody. We have two more. The next one is Laura Estes again, and it's called Wicklow, which is a county in Ireland. And the front matter in the score talks a lot about she goes there to see her daughter and all of that, and she spends a lot of time there. 6/8 and 3/4, lots of percussion, including traditional instruments if you can find them, but she tells you like what to do if you can't, like congas with sticks and things like that. So that's all in the front matter of the score. So we have slow and then 6/8, and then this is another piece too that everybody's seen had that like they have a good part. Everybody gets a shot at something fun to play. So this one's fairly repetitious, so we don't need to listen to too much of it. I believe it starts slow and then goes into 6/8. So let's start at the beginning, and then I'll tell you when we'll do a jump just to get a flavor. You can go ahead, Trish, and jump to the fast.
That broke some time for me.
I was good. And that's probably it. Yeah. This piece is a bit of a romp, right? So there are different themes in that fast section, but that's the spirit of the piece for sure. Nice get, you hit the fast section like on the button. That has never happened in Zoom history.
It's never going to happen again, I'm sure, but
I'm so glad we have this recorded. So because if people don't believe you, you could be bam. All right, one more. Our finale is it our
before you talk
finale?
about our last piece, let's talk about the last piece that isn't going to be the last piece. I wanted to make sure that I sort of talked about this piece because I missed when his last amazing piece, I think it was called Nurture, came out, because there wasn't a recording available of it yet. So there's a piece by Edward Fairley called Rest Content, that is a level 4 and will be coming out shortly. Again, it's this beautiful, rich, lush thing, but I can't really share the recording because it doesn't exist yet. But it's beautiful. Keep your eyes out for it because eventually it will happen. And then we can go on to the thing that you are going to close with, because a closer should be a closer.
Yes, and it is. Yeah, that's. Oh, I was going to say something, but I lost it. Doesn't matter. Okay, so this is our good friend Randall Standridge again. This note, we won't read it. You should read it, everybody, because you teach young people, and young people are all about fitting in and not fitting in, and the popular thing and the outcast thing. And he's very honest in his note about this piece that he was the outcast, didn't have friends, and he was the band kid, and all that stuff. And he talks very openly about that. So he wrote this piece to be a celebration of being who you are. It's the things get better. It's to himself, a note to his awkward teenager, preteen self, to just hang in there, and to figure out a way to love yourself. That's a message all of our kids need to hear, we need to hear, right? So this is just a literal celebration of being happy with who you are and it's a perfect way to end. And it's Randall Standridge, who we've talked a lot about today, and he's amazing. So hit it. That's probably, oh, good note, yeah. I'm so glad you put the note up, though, so people could see. I'm tempted to let it play because it's the last one and that kind of stuff, but people have been sitting for a long time and are probably sick of me and band music and need a break. Not you, never you, never you. So yeah, so everybody, I hope this is helpful. You are so lucky to have this resource here. Like I'm telling you, sorry, that's my dog. I forgot. I'll bring her up now. You're so lucky that your rep knows everything about everything, and so just take advantage. You're very, very lucky. So, all right.
I am so grateful that you had and again, I think I said this at the beginning of the last session, but Shelley has just finished a move from New Jersey to Texas, and just last week was doing the U of T's conducting symposium, and somehow still managed to work me in and do a couple of things on the spot, and introduce me to her sweet puppy. So, right, look at that little face, Luna. Anyway, it has been really great, and I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for doing this. This has been great fun, and I hope that everybody gets something useful and helpful out of our session.
I hope so too. Anytime and anything for you.
Oh, thanks. All right, everyone. On that happy and super sappy note, it's been a delight, and I will see you on one of our next sessions. Take good care.
Bye, everybody.